Hi. So we have a couple different levels here in this session. So we have in person, we also have Zoom. And I want to invite our Zoom participants to type in the chat any questions or comments that they might have as we go. And Ryan will help us hear those. If there's something that somebody on Zoom wants to add to our conversation, and Ryan also can jump in and talk. But I think my first question really of participants is, where are you in your journey with respect to small business development and social media? Because that will help me gauge how to make my remarks as meaningful as possible for you. And so I think, in the room, please introduce yourself, and I can talk a little bit about myself too once we get started. And Ryan, if anybody types in the chat, if they're in business, thinking about a business, using social media, what platforms, anything like that, that's helpful to know. And we'll take it from there. So please tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay. Okay, that's okay. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Marilyn, can you tell us about your business so we know what you're working on? Mhm. Yeah. Oh, okay. And you have some employees, or you have, that's big, that's a big business. Okay. That's helpful. And is it based locally, or do they work nationally? Wheeling. Okay, great. We can definitely aim some of our content tonight toward what you're probably going to need to do, because you're probably what we call a B2B business, right? Business to business, or are consumers coming to you? Uh-huh. Okay. 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 And so I can give some information tonight that you could share with your staffer who's working on social media to help them be more effective or successful with what they're doing. That's great. And then I wonder if there's anybody on Zoom who typed in the chat anything about what they're focusing on. And not yet. That's okay. So I'll say a couple things first to get started. And then if people join us in the room, that's great. Or if they jump on through the chat, that's great too. Just feel free to interrupt me as we go. I am a small, I shouldn't say a small business. I am a strategic communications and marketing and brand building consultant, and I've been in this business for about 17 years. And I tend to focus on businesses that are local to a community, whether it's here locally or nationally. And I tend to work with organizations that often look like they don't need social media support. And so that could look like school districts, it could be professional services practices like Marilyn's company, or law practices, or other organizations where historically it didn't look like they needed marketing. Libraries, houses of worship. I'm just thinking about all the kinds of organizations I've worked with, a lot of nonprofits, and a lot of emerging businesses. And it's kind of just my great pleasure to support local businesses, because that's what makes a community interesting. You know, when you look across the street, you can't quite see through the screen. There's a nice little plaza across the street with a bunch of different kinds of businesses in it. And the thing that's special about this is they make the neighborhood. The neighborhood's not made necessarily by the big nationals like the cell phone stores and the mattress stores. We do need those businesses too. But the neighborhood is made by all the enterprises that serve and care for the neighborhood in any way. And so that's become something of great interest to me, and that's a lot of the focus of my practice. And so tonight we're talking social media. And to get started, one of the things I love to always point out is libraries are incredible resources. And Ryan, thank you for having me in, but also, thank you for having all the resources that you have here. So a business owner after this session who might want to borrow camera equipment or find studio space can find those resources through the libraries that are all networked in our North Shore area. So even if you're coming to this Glenview Library, you may want to use the Wheeling Library. They have Indian Trails, beautiful library, or Northbrook or Skokie, all have different resources that you can borrow or utilize to, I know some have studios where you can do the filmography if you want to make short video clips to promote your business. You may have the cameras people can borrow and take outside on a beautiful day like today and film something in plain air, and so on and so on. And there's so many resources at the library. So I always encourage participants. These sessions are wonderful places to kind of get a lot of information, but then you may get some ideas and then talk to the business librarian like Ryan or some others that probably work on this team to meet your needs. And a lot of it is free or very low cost. And so one of the opportunities, especially with social media, is extending what you're doing with the support of the resources that a library has. And I'm a big fan. So let's get started. I noticed, Ryan had some materials in the back of the room, business and investing resources, and also a very handy little card with a QR code where you can sort of see all the resources that this library has. And I really encourage people to take a look at what the library has either online or stop in and kind of match your needs to the resources here or at the associated libraries in this consortium. So I think these are just, incredible opportunities for small business. And when we say small business, Marilyn, your business is not so small if you have 30 people working for you. And you're probably serving a lot of patrons and customers of one kind or another. And, before you know it, you're into something much bigger. So let's begin by talking a little bit broadly about social media and the baseline need of what you need to be successful with social media. And we can get specific about channels as we go, but let's start broadly. First, you need a company page on any platform where you want to show up. So the company page is literally your front door. That is what you build to say, hi, we exist. Here we are on this channel, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor. If you don't make a company page, you may get one made for you by the platform because it senses you're there because it pulls from other directories, but it may be inaccurate. Or like Yelp will have like a shell page for you, but if you don't claim it, it's whatever information Yelp thinks you have, and it may or may not be right. So you want to claim these pages, you want to develop these pages, and you want to populate these pages with the information you want your potential customer or client to see. So that's the first thing. And some of these seem like, duh, of course I know this, but it's good to kind of go over this because otherwise you may miss a step. Second is each profile that you create should have a few things at minimum. It should have your full business name, your logo, clear imagery, which means good photography, good illustrations or images that you use to represent your business, clear contact information, which is everything from your website URL to your telephone number or your address, depending on how you want to be reached. And that varies per business. So my recommendation is populate these channels with the information you want people to have versus all the information it's asking for. They're like large questionnaires, and you should populate them with the information that's accurate for you. So a lot of people say, well, Rebecca, I'm a home-based business, but I sell a lot online. And I say, great, you don't need your address on there if you don't want people showing up at your home-based business, but maybe you have a PO box that you use to receive returns or to ship from. So that should be there. And a telephone number that's accurate, and so on. And an inbound email address, if that's appropriate. Next is your employees, and this is really relevant for Marilyn and potentially for others who are on Zoom. You need to make sure your employees link to your company page. And you'll know they've linked to your company page. I'll use LinkedIn as an example. Employee A has their profile, and they say they work at Marilyn's company in Wheeling, Illinois. But if Marilyn's company in Wheeling, Illinois has a company page, the logo is part of it. And you'll know that that employee is linked because you'll see your logo on the employee's profile as part of their work experience. If you see sort of a gray looking box, it means it's not connected, which means the platform doesn't understand that employee A works for Marilyn's company in Wheeling, Illinois. But as soon as that link is made by the URL connection, which the platform will ask you, does this company have a LinkedIn page? And if you say yes, and you find that page and you link the two, now the platform knows. Now you have the opportunity for what we really call network connectivity. And so if 30 employees at Marilyn's company link to the company page, suddenly anytime somebody mentions something that's relevant to them or the company, LinkedIn's going to go, aha, these people need to know about this because they work for this company. On a larger scale, if we were talking about, say, Kraft Foods and they have 10,000 employees, if all 10,000 employees are linked correctly on LinkedIn, anytime something comes up about a product they care about or the company, it will create some connectivity between those employees and the company page, which means more people will see the content, which suddenly makes it more relevant. And then the employees can be trained to share out this company information and become evangelists, just like our customers do when they write reviews. And suddenly now you get to see the network effect. You start to see the hundreds or the thousands of people that are seeing some piece of information that's important. And what's cool about this online is it's totally free. So you don't have to pay to advertise this. You're creating waves based on good content or connection so that people know something is of importance. So that's a big deal with respect to social media and how to use social media at the baseline free level. We're not even talking about putting money into the platforms, which more times than not, small businesses don't have to do too much to get a big wave going if they do this correctly. The next thing you need is organizational commitment and resource allocation to have a trained manager or managers for the social platforms with additional teams as admins so there's no lockout. And what I mean by that is more times than not, I've had people come to me and say, oh my God, Rebecca, we do have a LinkedIn page, but we don't know the password. And I think, oh boy. So this is the same as if Ryan came to work and said, we don't have the keys to open the library today because we've lost them. Well, does anyone else have a key to the library? Oh no, just one person does and they can't find the key. So therefore we cannot open the library today. It's the same thing digitally. So what you have to do is assign admin roles from your pages. So if you have 4 social pages that you're going to have for your business, let's pretend, we'll do some pretends here. Let's say you have a LinkedIn page. Let's say you have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and a Nextdoor page. You want to make sure that you've assigned at least 1 or 2 people as admins to that page, aside from the primary owner of the page. And for that reason, someone may go on vacation, and you may need to publish something and realize, oh my gosh, my social media manager is on their honeymoon. Now what do I do? Well, somebody else can step in. And the cool thing about these platforms is, and this is another piece of confusion that people have. They'll say, well, how do we share the password? You don't have to share the password. When you assign the admin roles, people log into the platform through their own personal password, so there's no company password or anything like that. And they reach the same page with whatever level of access rights you assign them. And I tend to say, let's have full access rights, full admin rights to a page, especially in a small business. You create your page or your social media manager does, and then make sure a couple of very trusted people also have that access. And that way anyone can write to the page, edit the page, comment on something, react to something as you go forward, and you don't have to worry about, like, I don't know how to get back into that platform. It happens all the time, and it's a natural thing that happens as people get locked out and because they didn't realize that it was a big deal. A lot of people say, well, I don't really do social media. Like, I hear this probably every week from somebody. I don't like social media. I don't use blah, blah, blah. Well, that's fine. And I always say, I appreciate that very much, except business does use social media. And these are major utilities now for communication. So even if you personally don't choose to use these platforms, your business probably should show up on at least a couple of them in some way regularly so that the information that people are looking for can be found. And we can talk in and out on AI a little bit tonight too. AI is interesting. Up until about a year ago, we were really doing all this work, which we called search engine optimization, which was really tuning our websites and our social media channels so that the search engines would find us and put us in the list of results when people would search on Google or Bing or wherever for library near me or pizzeria near me. And you'd get that first page of results and you would say, okay, I found what I need and I'll click these links and these are the places that are probably the best choices for me. Whether they were or they weren't, that's debatable. But there's been a big shift. So we still have search engine optimization, but now we have something that's really called answer engine optimization. And what that means is because of AI, we're feeding a different beast now. We are feeding the answer engine optimization. So answer engine, it's the idea answer. Yeah, like what is the answer to the question? Answer engine optimization is nuanced and different from search engine optimization because now we're trying to get our company information, our library information, our presentation information into the AI summary. And the AI summary is go on Google and type in library near me. And you're going to get a paragraph at the top of that search result that's not all the links of the libraries near you, but a little summary. And it'll say something super friendly like, oh, hi, how nice that you're looking for a library. Well, there's many good ones near you. And it might, if we're doing it right, start off by saying the closest one to you is the one you're standing in at the Glenview Library. But there's others you might choose. You might choose the Northbrook Library, which is 2.4 miles away. That's the answer engine, the AI summary. And it scrapes the topmost information off websites, directory listings, social media. The biggest places it's pulling from are LinkedIn and Reddit right now, your website, and directories that are really well put together, like a Chamber of Commerce directory. So if the information you've fed into those places is accurate, specific, and loaded with keywords that describe what you do, you can check your AI summary from time to time, and you may discover, oh, we're doing it right. We're showing up just fine when somebody says pizzeria near me, and our pizzeria turns up. But if a pizzeria in Milwaukee turns up, they're doing better work than you because they're capturing customers that they have no right to if people are looking for a pizzeria near me and they're 100 miles away, which happens all the time in competitive businesses like law and educational consulting and other kinds of competitive businesses where roofers, house painters, where people are trying to get more and more geography under them in the hopes that somebody will reach out and maybe become a customer and they're, then they'll service that client. So we kind of took a little road here to describe this, a little curving road, but the point is you want to make sure that when you build your platform, you have complete information, and it may change over time, so you'll want to keep an eye on that, so that you let the algorithms work for you and do some of the heavy lifting, which is another free way you can get a lot of business online through social media. And when you have that trained manager, you'll want to make sure that you have a plan with them for what you want to say, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight too. And then you really need an organizational commitment to publish high-quality, actionable content. And what I mean by that, high-quality content is all the stuff that people are like, wow, did you see online, blah, blah, blah. Now, often it's like what someone had for lunch, or dogs doing funny things, or cats doing funny things, because that's the stuff that's kind of optimized right now and floating to the surface. But our business content can be just as captivating and good. I mean, if you bother to think about like the things that people would care about your business and you do very short film video to explain that complexity and you publish it, you're suddenly allowing people to know something about your business that they didn't know before, and it's findable. So those are the baseline needs. Let me just stop for a second and see, is there a question, a comment, anything about this that okay.
This is my question though, so not from somebody online, but what in maybe you do it later, answer it later, but in your opinion, what is a good amount for a short video? I'm just curious, what is too long or what is?
Well, I would say under 2 minutes is ideal, probably between 30 seconds and 120 seconds probably for a video. But one way you can do this, because a lot of people in smaller businesses think, oh my God, how am I going to film all this stuff? So what you can do is set up your camera like we have here. get yourself into a room like this or somewhere pleasant where you want to be or you want to be seen, or a green screen if you need something in the background, or use a library studio if you don't have that space. And maybe come up with, before the session, 10 or 20 questions you want to answer. And ask a trusted person. You don't even have to have a hired videographer if you don't have the resources for that. You could have someone who's just good with a camera, which is often like a young person in your midst, very frequently. And just let the camera run and get a chair, stand like I'm standing, change your outfit a couple of times if you want things to look differently, and answer all the questions. You can have them posted up on the wall and you can answer all the questions, or have someone like Ryan or Marilyn ask the question from off camera and then you answer it, and then ask the young person or whoever's filming for you to carve these up into small bits, 1 minute and 2 minute bits. And you could suddenly have, in the space of 1 hour of work or 2 hours of work, 10 or 20 short videos that you could then publish that look nice. And if you can, I would recommend putting a little front matter and back matter on your film, which includes your business name, contact information, anything informational that you need to explain why the video exists. And then you can publish those to YouTube, you can publish them to Facebook, LinkedIn, you can have them running off your website, you can embed them in your emails. So I think that's how I would deal with shorter video. I would also say longer stuff sometimes is important if you have something you need to explain, like something that has a process, like the 10 steps to make the best bolognese, if that's something that's important for you, and you need to show that. People will watch that. So I think what we've entered into is a time in our life where all our senses are being engaged, and social media does a nice job of helping us do that, either through listening, through seeing, sometimes reading, and sometimes it just feels like touch, right? It almost feels personal if it's done right. And it starts to engage all of our senses, but it never really accomplishes our human connection, that we're here together tonight because it's better to be together than apart when we can. But I think that social media can often bring that divide much closer and make us feel more connected, right, through video. Does that answer the question? Okay. So now we have to talk about tactics. And when we have social media, we'll just pretend that we have a few channels, and we'll refer to our channels from time to time. You want to publish content consistently and commit to a steady cadence. And so people will ask me, well, how much should we publish? And I would say, whatever is the right rate of speed that you can handle. And so big companies like Kraft are publishing every half an hour, every 15 minutes. They have teams of people working on this. A lot of things are pre-scheduled, which I do recommend our small businesses do, because we can learn from the big ones. But let's say you're on LinkedIn. Could you publish one good piece of content every week? And by good, I'm being a little judgy here. Something that people would be like, wow, that's so cool. I'd love to see more about that. So, Marilyn, in your business, you probably look at a lot of electronic devices, I'm guessing. You probably look at a lot of electronic devices in the work that you do. So it would be so fun. Keep everything on social media at the level of like a cocktail party. Like, Marilyn, what sort of stuff have you seen? You say, oh my God, did I see something cool? You should have seen the wires coming out of this thing that someone brought to us that they just designed that's going to interact with this, and then take a picture of it and show us the spaghetti bowl of wires. Like, who even knows how to deal with this except the people who work with you? You need us to sort out the wires, There may be interesting emerging technologies that you could show us, or you could be a cookie baker and someone at a cocktail party might say, well, how was your week? And you might say, I baked 10,000 cookies and it was for the Chicago Marathon. Show us. We want to see it. We want to see all the cookies. We want to see the steps. We want to see the flour everywhere. We want to see the chocolate chips. It may be boring for you because it's your everyday life, but it's super interesting for people out in the world. So if there's one thing that you could publish every week, I'm sure something is going on this week in your life that would be interesting. Like, I was just working with a client who's at a training seminar. It's a continuing education seminar. And I texted them today and I said, please take a picture of the sign outside the door the room that you're in with all the people. Take a picture of, the screen where the information is presented, because that's the atmosphere of your day. And to somebody who's not at that session, it's going to do a couple things. It's going to engage the psychological principle of social proof, and it's also going to cause people to kind of look in and say, oh, that's so cool. You were at a continuing ed program. I probably should have gone to that too. And through social proof, oh, I wish I had. I probably missed out. I'll go to the next one. And so, or boy, those cookies look really good. Do you ever bake for other catering activities? Because I have an event coming up and I need, 10 dozen cookies, and you suddenly get business from the fact that you just showed all the cookies you baked for the Chicago Marathon. So that consistent publishing is a big deal. Inspire your style and tone. Look at business pages that you admire. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be Sony Electronics. It could be Mrs. Fields chocolate chip cookies. It could be Giordano's Pizza. It could be some organization that you follow because you find their work interesting. It's unrelated to the work that you do. It doesn't really matter. If you like their style, it might sort of inform your style, because you might see how they handle things in their narrative voice and their presentation, and it might inspire how you might present the Glenview Library or the breakfast restaurant across the street. It doesn't really even matter, but we can take inspiration from a lot of the well-organized, larger business pages that we see, like Apple, Toyota. And that can just help you kind of define the style of your business beyond the actual brand that you have. Speak with a strong brand voice. So brand voice is, what does it sound like? I think that's why we like commercials that are funny and cheeky, when there's like a talking dog or a raccoon that's doing something funny. And the reason those commercials work is because they have personality. And it may be about an insurance company, but because it was sort of entertaining to you, you remember it. And so I think defining the voice of your business is important. And you may even be doing very serious work, but that voice could be warm. It could be professorial. It could be creative. It could be funny. It depends on the tone you want to strike. But when you find that voice, hold that voice and keep it consistent across all the content that you're publishing. And people will read it better. They will hear it better. They will appreciate it more. When people comment on your content, so when you start to publish the 10,000 cookies, or let's say you're building a whole new area in the library of books and you have a whole new display and you take a picture, it's all mysteries or large print or books in Spanish or old LP records or whatever it is that people might come to the library and find. When you publish that, people are going to comment. They're going to go, Ryan, how do I come in and check this out? Or are you going to do a special opening of your new storefront? Or how do we come sample the cookies? You want to comment back, because that tells the algorithm this organization is alive and well and paying attention, and it pushes your content higher in search. And what that means is when some person in the universe, that unknown X of people that are looking for cookies or LPs or electronic support, your content will go up in the search results if you're commenting back on every comment. And the other thing you want to moderate too is you want to make sure that if anybody writes anything they ought not to write or that isn't helpful, first of all, you can block them from your page on most pages, not all, but most, because there are sort of nefarious outfits that like to squat on pages and insert all kinds of useless information or bad information like phishing information. I see that with our local police departments. They have to put, every time they publish something, they have to put in the comments, do not click any links that are presented in the comments, because all these sort of bad actors show up and put links in the comments on our police department pages when they're providing information to the public that are problematic. And so you do want to moderate that and ask your admins to please monitor that and make sure you're commenting back on everything authentic, blocking things that are problematic, and also reporting anything to the platform that is phishing or otherwise. And the platforms allow you to do that, and it keeps the page sort of healthy and clean. Pre-schedule. So for smaller businesses, a lot of people say, I don't know what to say. And I always say, carve out a little time. Whatever time is good for you. When you need a break, make it fun. Go sit outside, pour yourself a lemonade, and think about, take a piece of paper, don't do digital, on a piece of paper, write down some of the key messages you want the world to know, and then pace it out. Let's say you come up with 14 key messages. Well, if you publish one a day, you've got 2 weeks worth of content right there as soon as you create it, and you can pre-schedule all of it to launch at whatever time of day you would like. And then people say, well, what time of day should I publish? And that's not a perfect, there's not a perfect answer to that one. The time of day you should publish is probably the time of day when your audience is most likely to see it, because a lot of platforms give you sort of like a sunrise or a grace period when they put your content higher in people's reading stream. So you may publish at 10 a.m. and your 200 followers, 500 followers, 10,000 followers will be more likely to see it between 10 a.m. and noon on that day than any other time. Now, as people start to comment, that keeps the content alive and up in the rankings. But that first hour or two is kind of important. So I would counsel you to take a look at your metrics and see when your audience is online. A lot of my audiences are online business hours, Central Standard Time, or Eastern Standard Time, or Pacific Time, depending on who I'm working with. So what I would say is publish when you think, based on what you can see, they would see it. It's not perfect. And I would test Saturdays and Sundays, because there's an awful lot of people on the weekends who catch up on their reading online, and they'll simply go online and have a look, or they'll be sitting at their kid's sports game and they get a little distracted. They find themselves on LinkedIn. Not bad for looking. And test. So the pre-scheduling is a phenomenal way to get out ahead of the burden of publishing once you set up what you think you want to say thematically. And promote your social media accounts. So what I mean by that is make sure your emails have links to your social channels. Make sure you send a dedicated email to your audience about the fact that, hey, did you know we're on the following social channels? You can follow the Glenview Library on the following places, and provide a link to those. You build audience also by using the feature of people you may know. When you go on your platform, and let's say you have 3 admins and you're on LinkedIn, there's the people you may know feature. Each person who is an admin is linked to your platform through their channel. So the people you may know who may care about your page is different per person. So Marilyn may log in and pick some people off the people who may want to know about this page that she can promote it to, but then her social media manager has a whole different network of people, and there may be 50 or 100 people that should know about this page that she can automatically invite. Again, it's all free, and you're building audience with that. You can also promote it to your customers, your sources of referral, your professional friends, and a lot of them will follow the page too if you ask them to. Engage with the audience. You develop a sense of community when you respond back. When people say, hey, what time does the bakery open where we can pick up the cookies? And you write back, we open at 8 and we're going to have coffee available for everyone from 8 to 9. Stop in, have a cup of coffee and say hi. You start to create the personality of your organization online so that it's seamless. When they end up in your business, it feels good too. It feels good online and it feels good in person. And that's what your goal is, to kind of create the seamless feeling of like, this is the best place in the world. I'm so glad I do business with this organization. I would also recommend make a short list of competitors and collaborators. So you may be losing business to some organization. They could be here, they could be in Delaware, they could be in Germany, it doesn't matter. We want to know that list of competitors. And you want to keep an eye on them. And a lot of the platforms let you track competitors, so you can just see what they're publishing or how they're doing it. And also you can kind of keep an eye on what your customers or clients are seeing too. And that's important. So like if you have a bakery and there's 7 other bakeries within a mile of where you bake, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful, but it's really helpful to know what the others are doing in the area so that you can find a logical situation for what you're publishing so that your brand voice, your personality of your organization shines through, because a consumer may be seeing the other ones or maybe making a choice between you and the other ones. And you want to make sure that when they make the choice, it's grounded in some reality. A lot of times consumers don't actually know what to choose, more times than not, about doctors and lawyers, consultants, fitness centers. People don't necessarily know. They just know, I need help with X, Y, or Z problem, and they go online and they try to figure out who the right resource for them is. And I would say maybe half the time they find the right resource, half the time they think they did find the right resource, and maybe they did and maybe they didn't, and hopefully it works out. But if you shine a light through your work and keep an eye on your competitors and your collaborators, you'll be able to situate your practice on social better. Make sense? Questions, thoughts, comments? Anything from our Zoom friends? No? The Zoom friends are quiet tonight. Okay. That is fine. Sometimes you have organizations that you do a lot of business with. For example, and I don't know if this is true, let's just pretend that Apt Electronics cares a lot about Marilyn's company that's working with electronics. And let's say Apt is publishing really fun stuff on their social channels. It's no threat to Marilyn and her team to once in a while take one of Apt's posts and share it to theirs and say, our friends over at Apt are doing cool work with XYZ Electronics or brand, and we're great admirers of what they do in this space. And if you ever need help with yours, we work together all the time, and you tag Apt, and suddenly some percent of Apt's audience is now seeing Marilyn's company because we created this association online on whatever platform we're on, whether it's Nextdoor or Facebook or Instagram. You can do that with any of them. And creating these connections is really meaningful in terms of the algorithm. Another thing that's really important for people in business to do is follow relevant content. And relevant content is anything that pertains to the business space you're working in, whether it's a professional service or something for consumers or something every day that people go into the store and buy, or a service they use once in a blue moon, like a roofing service. You don't do your roof every year, hopefully. You do it maybe once every 10, 15 years. But if you follow kind of the news about maybe there were hailstorms and you're a roofer, maybe you're in the painting business and there's trends on color or style. If you're up on all of that and you publish about that, I think you're going to get more business. I know of a business that recently did some work. They're a painting and decorating business, and they did some work with a wallpaper that's scratch and sniff, which I never heard of, but I thought it was kind of fun. And they published a whole thing about this scratch and sniff wallpaper that smelled like bananas or strawberries or something like that. I don't need scratch and sniff wallpaper, but I still remember that this company did this, and I remember the name of this company. And so if I do need any help with painting and decorating, who might I call? You know, and I think they're having fun too, kind of celebrating what they do with their customers, which is sometimes unexpected. And I think that that also is a way that social media can extend what people know, and you can educate your potential buyer about the things they didn't even know. That I did not know that there was scratch and sniff wallpaper. And there may be at some point in my life some reason for me to refer people to it. And now I can because I know about it. Let's talk for a minute about channels. There are so many channels. I've just got a few of the big ones here. There are others. We have Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, Reddit, Google Business Profile. I'm going to take it from the bottom up to the top. The Google Business Profile is possibly right now the most important piece of digital real estate you can own, and it's free. The Google Business Profile is when you go on Google and you're searching for a business, there's a panel, you control this. You have to create it. So lots of businesses don't even have one. It's where the Google reviews get parked. It's where you can put a 750 character summary of what you do. You can put photos, products, and services on the Google Business Profile. We could do a whole session on the Google Business Profile. It's that important. And Google definitely algorithmically pays attention to these profiles. And I'll give you an example. You could be a cookie baker and have no Google Business Profile. Nobody can find you. It's like the Yellow Pages. You could have a Google Business Profile and have 2 reviews. You could have 2 terrible reviews. And each review could say, these are the worst cookies I've ever eaten in my life. The staff was rude. You could have incomplete information, and still it's going to help you get business because at least someone can find your business name. But you could have a Google Business Review where you steadily campaign for reviews, and you get a review every week from a happy customer who loves your cookies. and you have a 750 character summary, and you have nice photos of the different types of cookies that you bake and the styles. We do gluten-free, we do sugar-free, we do full-blown Toll House cookies with dark chocolate, light chocolate. We put fresh strawberry stuff on top, whatever it is. And suddenly your Google business review with all those reviews is sent even higher in search. So when somebody is searching for a bakery near me, your bakery turns up ahead of the French pastry shop that has no Google business review, and you win. But you have to make sure it's populated with correct information, loaded with keywords, products and services, and you have to campaign for reviews. And I deal with this all the time with my clients, especially in the professional services. You could have professional service A with 20 reviews that are mixed. They could be good and bad. You could have professional service B that has stellar reviews, 120 reviews, 500 reviews. You know which profile is going to get served up higher in search results. And they're doing the work. So please make sure you have a Google business profile for your business. Reddit is probably the most scraped platform for information for AI summaries. So even if you're in the electronics business, or you're in the law practice business, or you are in the cookie baking business, there is probably a Reddit community you should participate in where you or someone you know or designate can say the name of your business as part of information. For example, there are Chicago suburbs Reddit communities where people are asking, where can I get my vacuum fixed? Who would have ever thought that would be asked, but here they are asking, and people will suggest, I know I got my vacuum fixed here or here, and those businesses will get business because of that. You want to be on Reddit. You want to keep an eye on Reddit to see what's being said that's relevant to your business and search for the communities where your business could logically be mentioned. LinkedIn, oh my gosh, huge for business, both personally and company-wise. So everybody in business should have an individual profile, and it should be fully populated to the extent that you can populate it. And you should have a company page if you have a company of any size, and publish content at whatever rate is comfortable for you and whoever you've designated to publish. And LinkedIn is just great because everybody on LinkedIn is there to do some business or to make a decision or to find a resource that's relevant to their business. And it's a kind of quiet, polite place, which it feels very different than Instagram and X and Facebook, which can be sort of impolite at times and feel a little haphazard. But LinkedIn's a great place to present your business and yourself professionally. TikTok, well, it's mission-driven young people watching videos more than you could even imagine. So if you're in the business of making some short videos, you may want to have some that feel youthful in nature. You're going to have your social media manager help you with this. Define, what does our company look like when it's on TikTok? What does our company look like when it's on LinkedIn? What does our company sound like when it's on Reddit? And the personality of your company may shift a little per platform, but the goal is really to make sure that you show up where you think your customers or prospective customers are. X is, I believe, really more for like national and international reach. So if you're doing some work that people would care about nationally or internationally, you should be on X. If you're not, then I think it's not as high of a priority. But definitely journalists use it to find information about trending topics that may matter on a grander scale, on a larger scale. Instagram is really important if you're doing visuals and videos, because people really are there to kind of watch and observe everything from how to make a certain sauce to how to fix a problem pipe in the kitchen, or how to plant a garden correctly. Whatever instruction you may want to offer, whatever you want to express, Instagram is a great place to do that, and you use hashtags to inform the platform what it is. So a lot of times people use hashtags incorrectly. They use them to editorialize. They'll do hashtag, we're having a great session at the Glenview Library, and the hashtag will say, isn't it a nice day in Glenview? But that's not what people are searching for. They're actually searching for Glenview Library seminars, or they're searching for social media marketing sessions, or free social media resources. Those would be some hashtags maybe for this session. Or small business marketing. But a lot of times people editorialize in the hashtags like, I'm the luckiest gal in America. But that's not what people are searching for. The hashtag it indexes that phrase so that anyone searching for that phrase can find it on the platform. And Facebook, which is the world's digital storefront. I recommend having a Facebook page. Lately, I've been saying I think it's a lot less important if you publish to it than it used to be. It used to matter a lot. It's kind of junked up right now, and that could change again. You go on Facebook, you get more ads and junk and stuff that you don't really need to see, but you do need a page there because it serves like the Yellow Pages used to as a directory listing, and it's so highly optimized for search results. You want to make sure you're there. And I would say, publish content there again at a rate of pace that works well for you and your team. But I've prioritized it lower than before. I would even add to this list maybe Nextdoor for super local marketing. So if you're in a business that people in a given geographical area would care about, whether it's a barbershop, a roofing company, house painting and decorating, a law practice, you probably want to have a page on Nextdoor and have your social media people monitor what's being said on Nextdoor so that if I just saw this, somebody was asking for an oral surgeon on the North Shore who's compassionate, and I happen to know of one who's really exceptional, and I stated the practice's name, and people seem grateful to get the reference for that because people don't know, and they want to ask somebody, what was your lived experience like? Was it good? And this practice took good care of my family members, so I can recommend it. But you want that for your business. You want people out in the community doing that. We talked about hashtags. Maintain a posture of gratitude. A lot of times businesses don't say thanks to their customers, and you can do that on social media very easily. Sometimes it's as simple as taking a picture of a customer in your space where you work and thanking them for being your customer or your client. Sometimes it's running a little contest where people can win a prize. Sometimes it's just acknowledging the type of business that you're doing and the kinds of people who are using your services and thanking them. And that's really a very nice message to put out into the mix of messages that you're publishing. And you want to ask your staff to share. So on these platforms, if your staff is following your company pages on these platforms, you can ask your staff to please share. You can even create little contests for people who share a lot. Give them a $10 coffee card to the local coffee shop or something fun just to say thanks for doing that. You're helping us grow, or you're helping us get the message out about a contest, about an offer that we have. It's a really nice way to have your staff engage on social media in a way where they feel like they were helpful, and it also is good for the business that you're undertaking together. Always include great images. Great images take a few forms. Great images can be stock photography if you use stock photography. Great images can also be photos that you take. I was just working with a client today who had a gorgeous photo of Chicago shot from the Chess Pavilion around North Avenue, if you're familiar with it. And the water looked like gelatin. It's so smooth and perfect, right on that cement kind of edge where people go running and bike riding, and then the city is just rising above. It's like a perfect photo. And we're working on their website. And my client said, I took this photo recently. Do you think we could use it on the website? I said, absolutely. And she said, I took it. There's no issue of like who took this photo, who owns this photo. She took the photo. It's beautiful. We're going to put it on the website, and it's very nice because it just sort of speaks to her practice. And I take photos wherever I go of textures of things. Like if I'm in the grocery store and there's gorgeous cherries, I'll take a tight shot of the cherries all together, or the pumpkins or the flowers, because you can always use those for your social media. And that's free. It's your own stock photography. You can also take photos of yourself with the people you're with at a session and tag them. You can go to a meeting and you'll meet the president of a certain professional association, take a picture and tag them, and suddenly you get a lot of eyes on your content. And those are the kinds of social posts that everybody gets behind. Everybody gives a thumbs up, a hooray, a like, oh, congratulations, we should schedule coffee. You get all kinds of reaction the more alive your copy looks and the more beautiful your photos are. And then think about video. Talk to Ryan, talk to other librarians. If you're going to other libraries, borrow their equipment, use their studio space, ask for help from people who are in a position to help you make great video, and publish short form video to kind of engage people's visual. You know, we always used to think that people just read information. Websites were like a lot of reading. Now there's a lot of looking, there's a lot of listening, there's even a bit of touching, like the books and the materials. So, you know, definitely consider where video fits into the scheme of things for your business. And always assert your authority, but I guess what I mean by this is your expertise. Everybody who owns a business is an expert in their subject. And you should express that and be the expert and tell people why what you know matters. And social media is the perfect place to do that in bite-sized pieces. And try to create content that's shareable or aspirational so that people take it and they're like, that was so good, I'm going to share that to my network. Or if you invite people to do so, that they actually willingly do. And then use the invite functions to grow your audience. I mentioned this before. A lot of platforms will say people you may know or people who might care about your page, or invite people who you know to care about this page, and go for that and do that for sure. On LinkedIn, I think you get 250 invites per month, which is a lot for a small business. If you invite all the people you're connected to like your LinkedIn page, you're going to grow your audience very quickly, month by month. And your employees should be invited to do that as well. And I really, more than anything, think you have to test. You have to kind of test what works for your business. And it's going to be different than someone else's business, or you may go to a networking session and someone might say, everyone should do blah, blah, blah. Well, not necessarily. You might consider doing that, and your blend of marketing tactics on social media may be different than this person's blend of tactics on social media. And you may have some overlap for sure. And you might even share best practices like I'm doing with you tonight. But you will become the absolute master with your admins of what really works for your business on which platforms. And don't be surprised if it's different than you think. And also don't be surprised if it changes over time. And I think, you know, this is like a lot of information in 1 hour, I realize. So, you know, I would say as you go, first of all, you can always reach back to me. I leave my information on this worksheet. So if you have a question, you can call or text or email. I'm always happy to help. But I also think, you know, take this away tonight, have dinner, think about it. It's like the 3 a.m. insight. Like at 3 a.m. when you wake up, you go, yes, I know what I need to do tomorrow. This is the thing that needs the highest priority attention. And that's what I'll focus on. Or set about a plan for like the first 4 weeks. This is what I'm going to try to do. And I think you'll get a lot of momentum if you kind of take that approach with social media. Are there questions, comments?
They'll on our YouTube channel within a week, so maybe by the end of this week or next week.
And how do I?
If you search Glenview Public Library on YouTube, you'll find our channel. And you
Okay,
can find all our videos
just a
there.
minute, just a minute. You go to
Yeah, go to YouTube,
Glenview Public Library.
and then you'll find our channel, and you'll see our videos there, and our most recent one will be, the first one you see, but you'll find all of our videos on our channel.
Okay, and how do I get your channel?
Just when you search for Glenview Public Library on YouTube, you'll get results, and you'll find our channel. It should pull right up.
Okay. And so I then can see, and it would have the same name as this.
It'll be called Social Media for Your Small Business. It's the
Okay.
name of the program, yeah.
Okay. Because there's, I'm sure you didn't get it all.
Oh, yeah. And you could share this with the people that you're working with to do your social media too. You could also, this worksheet will be a lot that they can pivot off of to do a lot. And I mean, even if you just do some of these things, I think you're going to get momentum easily. It's like any discipline, whether you set about a fitness program or a nutrition program or a gardening program for yourself, anything that you set out to do with intention, if you do it every single day with some intention, you're going to get momentum. There's I like Jesse Itzler. He is now he's like a motivational speaker, but he founded NetJets and he's done a lot of interesting things. And he talks about how he believes if there's something you're interested in getting good at, if you take 20 minutes a day for 1 year, for 365 days, by the end of 365 days, his position is, and whether this is true or not, I don't know, but it's an interesting idea, is that after 365 days of 20 minutes a day of whatever you're trying to get good at, you're going to be better than like 95% of the people who do that thing, whatever that is. And when you think about it that way, you go, well, I could do that. So what if you just set about doing social media stuff 20 minutes a day, every day for a week or two? You're going to automatically start to get the hang of a channel. And as soon as you get the hang of a channel, you can get deeper on it, get the momentum, and then go to the next channel. And now pre-schedule everything and pre-schedule and study your results and see what people are commenting back and see what's happening. And if it brings you a client or a customer, was it worth it? That is always the question. And that's actually an interesting thing to talk about too. The value of a customer is different per business. A customer may be worth $150 to one business, and it may be worth $5,000 to another business, but to that business, it's a one and done thing. Like somebody who's buying a roof, it's a $25,000 customer, or whatever it is. When you contemplate what a customer is worth for you, and then you contemplate what it's going to take you to do something on one of these social media channels, if it brings you a customer, was it worth it? If it brings you 10 customers, was it worth it? 100? Reputation? Expertise being expressed? Was it worth it? It probably was worth it. Especially if you're doing it well, which we see examples of everywhere. We also see not great examples, but we don't need to pay attention to those as much. So I think our time is about up. We're right on the buzzer.
I had one other question myself, just if you don't mind. You have all these different channels you can be on, different platforms. Is it ill-advised to post the same content to multiple channels?
In a perfect world, but it is an imperfect world. So in a perfect world, you're going to publish different content on every channel. In an imperfect world, you're going to look for some way to have the same content be on the different channels. But I would recommend you vary it, because the algorithm notices if you have the same exact sentence or headline and photo on 3 channels, it's going to like that a lot less than maybe the same information presented 3 different ways. So your audience on Facebook may see things differently than your audience on LinkedIn versus your audience on Nextdoor. So I would recommend you take that piece of content and you vary it, whether it's image or copy or a little bit of both. It may be getting to the same central message or point of view, but it seems different. So unfortunately, I think it should be different if you can. But I do realize that is hard for some businesses. I see some businesses will just put the same piece of information across platforms. You're going to lose on that a bit, but I understand how people do that. If you can avoid that, though, I would.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? No? Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. And to our folks out in the universe, thank you for watching.